I just got done watching Todd Field's brand new movie, Tar. This stars the likes of Cate Blanchett, and it's set in the international world of classical music. The film centers on Lydia Tár, widely considered one of the greatest living composers and conductors, and the first ever female chief conductor of a major German orchestra. Now, Todd Field is actually new to me. I had never seen a single thing this guy's ever made, nor did I really even hear about his name until this film had premiered, which maybe that's just something wrong with me that I'd never heard about Todd Field. But then I had one of my friends ask me, when are you going to see Tar? Well, I finally saw it. And everything that my friend had really hyped up about this movie was that Todd Field worked very much closely with Stanley Kubrick, which is like a huge, gigantic thing. And also Todd Field actually helped make Big League Chew, which I think is just funny, but that's off the subject. The fact that he worked with Stanley Kubrick, the way that my friend explained it was like, this is like the closest that we'll ever get to a Kubrick movie. And when you look at that, Stanley Kubrick is like one of the best directors ever. So I was expecting a lot from Tar. A lot of the rave reviews. And I'm going to be honest here. I really liked this movie. I didn't love it as much as other people did, and I have some quite big issues with the film, but it is a really spellbinding movie that really brings you into it all. And for 2.5 hours, you are living in the descent of this lady, the one who is like the highest of all graces, but she falls, and you see that descent all the way until the end. And it's really impeccable what they were able to do here. But hi, my name is Zach. Thank you so much for clicking on this. You guys are really all the best. I love talking movies. And if you are new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies and TV over here on a daily basis, as well as leave your thoughts. Do you know who Todd Fields is? What's your favorite Stanley Kubrick movie? As well as what's your favorite Cate Blanchett performance? Let's discuss that all down there. With every movie review, though, I like talking about the pros, and that's what I want to start off with here, because I do still think this movie is very mesmerizing, even if it was not fully for me. And it's more of a movie that I'm going to appreciate than love in every sort of light. So flat out, you've heard about it, Cate Blanchett is now the big front runner for Best Actress next year. Cate Blanchett's one of the best actresses working right now. And after watching this movie, I can completely see why she is one of the big front runners. She does give the best performance that I have seen so far. I'd put her right up there with Michelle Yeoh from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I probably would still vote for Michelle Yeoh because I just am really biased towards that performance in that movie, but Cate Blanchett just delivers a performance that is literally like one of the best performances I've seen in quite a while, and it is, again, mesmerizing. Like, this movie, like, there's a couple adjectives that you can really use to explain and express what this film gives. And if you are a film fanatic, this is a movie that's going to give you that, because the trailer has, like, some horror psychological tendencies to it. It's definitely not that. This is very much heavily a dramatic, artsy-fartsy movie, which is okay, because I love artsy-fartsy movies, but when you look at her performance, the three adjectives that I can explain, because this movie, almost every single scene is dedicated to her. It's mesmerizing, it's spellbinding, and it's, I guess this isn't really an adjective, but the best way to also explain this movie, it's lived in. You feel like you are lived in. You are following this lady's path, her life, her lifestyle, and really much for the first hour of this movie, it focuses directly on her. Like, just her. How people love her, what she's all about, what she's doing, why so many people follow her around, and you see why people look up to her. But then you start to get into maybe there's a little bit more to her, and that's kind of like the next act of this story. Tells you a little bit more that maybe she's a little bit manipulative. Maybe there's something to her. Maybe there's actually some dark tendencies to her that kind of make her a piece of shit. And you continue to learn that. And then, like, the last hour, it just spends on her descending down from the high graces. And her descent into darkness, and her, in a way, losing herself. And seeing Cate Blanchett go from here to here to here, and then straight back down. It is something that I think is poignant to a lot of things that actually happen in this world when it comes down to actors being canceled, or just celebrities being canceled, and in general, where they kind of rise up and how people view celebrities and famous people and how they look up to them. I think those are such intriguing elements. And again, Cate Blanchett and Todd Fields does a great job with that. And I was totally invested. In fact, one of the most unique things about the movie is the movie, for the most part, opens up, shows a scene, you're like, that's weird. And then it goes into credits, like literally the full credits of the film. Then it opens up on like Cate Blanchett's character being interviewed for like a 10 to 15 minute scene. And then it just goes about showing conversations that she has with people, showing classes that she teaches, showing the orchestra. And it doesn't really get into her, like, her personal life. Like, you get to know all that, but it doesn't really get into the orchestra aspect till midway through the movie. And I'll give credit where credit is due. The runtime does fly. Like, I checked my watch at one point, and I was like, oh, we're already an hour and a half in. And, you know, there are elements in there that I'll talk about that I have issues with, but I can't express enough how amazing Cate Blanchett is in here. I would not be shocked if she wins Best Actress, but we will see. I'm still pulling for Margot Robbie. I need to see Babylon. Come on, Damien Chazelle, show me Babylon, please. Also, I've only really heard about people talking about Cate Blanchett, but I do want to talk about Nina Haas, who plays Sharon in here. She is, like, impeccable in this. In fact, she has one performance in here that I was just sitting there like, this is incredible. Like, this one scene is so important to the entire story, and no one's talking about it. As well as Noémie, Merlant, and Sophie Kauer. I think both of those characters are also very important to this entire story, and again, every person you meet in here does add something to Lydia Tár's life, who is played by Cate Blanchett, and the big star of this is Todd Field. Like I mentioned off the top, he worked closely with Kubrick, and in a way, you know, you can see some Kubrick-isms in here, but this is very unique. This is a movie that I feel like would have been made during the Kubrick times, and you don't see movies like this. Yes, we get a lot of artsy-fartsy movies. I understand that. We get a ton of those every single year, and I love a lot of them. But Todd Field's, like, the best way to describe his direction in here is focused. He knows exactly how every scene needs to be framed and shot. And every scene expresses itself in a certain manner that makes me want to go back and at least study some of the movie. Because, again, the shots that he has in here, you can clearly tell are detailed in a way to express the character of Lydia Tár in some way, shape, and form, but also express maybe what her character's psychosis is thinking. And he does this so many different times throughout the entire movie that I just found myself taken back by every single sequence, camera movement. All of these things are so focused and precise that I was blown away. And again, a lot of that can be given credit to the cinematography, but Todd's direction is really fascinating in here, as well as the audio. The sound design in here, like, if you can see this in a really good theater with impeccable sound design, there's times where you hear something, and obviously Lydia Tár's looking around, and you can actually follow the direction of where it's going. And I haven't seen, like, a drama have this great of sound design since probably Roma, since I got the really good chance to see that in theaters. So I very heavily recommend, like, if you get to see this in theaters, you absolutely should, because of the way that it really does do the sound design to this entire thing. And I know, like, some people mentioned, is this a horror or psychological movie? There are horror and psychological tendencies to it, and you can see how Todd is able to intersect that, but this is very a personal story to Lydia Tár, and really much following in the life of her footsteps, and again, following the descent of darkness and madness to one person. And Todd does a great job of his direction, and I will be honest, whatever he makes next, I'm going to be interested to see, and I'm really excited to see, because we don't get movies like this anymore. We don't. Not at all. Like I've talked about, Todd's directing, Cate Blanchett, all sorts of things like that. The one thing I have not mentioned, and this is actually where I'm going to start intersecting into my issues with the movie, it is the runtime. 2.5 hours is absolutely way too long for this movie. I understand what you're trying to do. I understand that, you know, like, you barely want to cut out or move along. You want to tell the entire lifespan of the story, but it does get very repetitive throughout it. And I feel like there are certain moments that I wish would have been cut or not needed, because the first opening scene with Lydia Tár, you understand everything you need to know about this character, but then it continues to dive into more and more. And I do think, again, props to Todd for just going full out with that. But I personally feel like it actually hurt the movie, because by the end, I was kind of just waiting for it to end. I was still interested to see how it would end, and the way that it ends is kind of a little bit anticlimactic, which I guess in the vein of what the themes and the stories and that's being told in this story, it makes sense why it would be anticlimactic, but it's anticlimactic in a way that I feel like I already knew where this story was going, and it just continued to get repetitive and repetitive, and there's certain things that Lydia Tár does in here that I wish they would have touched on a little bit more, to really understand the entirety of everything kind of going on. In fact, that's the one thing that I feel like just drags the movie down, is repetitiveness and its pacing. While again, there are great moments in here and I was intrigued the entire time, the second the movie ended, I was like, I'm actually kind of confused on why this movie is getting such high praises. You know, in a way, I kind of understand why, but I do think that this movie is not going to be for everyone. In fact, I think when the more people start to see this film, they're going to feel more like the same way. Like, I get it. I really liked it. But why did a lot of people other love it? Maybe it's because of Cate Blanchett. Maybe it's because of Todd's directing. I don't know. But with that said, I think Tar is a very mesmerizing and spellbinding movie that is focused and precise in its direction, as well as Cate Blanchett's incredible performance. But what I will mention here is that I think the runtime is way too long here. The ending is a bit anticlimactic, and even adding in there, I wish the pacing was just better. I think there is a perfect masterpiece movie in here if it was an hour and 45 minutes. That's personally my thoughts. But other than that, guys, with that said, I'm going to give Tar a B+. Still really like this movie. I just do not get the love for it all. I wish I could have loved it myself, but thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts. Cannot wait to read those, and lots more movie reviews coming up soon. So, of course, until next time, stay classy.